I'm Porter Brooks, and I am your host. Everyone's coming to the party. Don't miss it. It's all about Friday nights on this episode, and I'm so glad you joined me. I'm Porter Brooks, and you know, with all of our busy lives, Friday night seems to be the hardest night actually to entertain on. But I've come up with a way that you can start in the morning, let things cook low and slow all day long, so that you've got a fantastic one-pot wonder for you and your friends that isn't typical like a crock pot stew, but actually is a little bit exotic and fun. We're going to be doing a chunky paella pork stew today, and paella, if you're not familiar, are the green spices of Spain. It starts out really simple. I've got some vegetable oil, about 8 tablespoons heating, and you can use a Dutch oven, a braising pan, and I'm going to want to flour and dust my cubes of washed and dried pork. I like to use a Pyrex pan so that I can get it all done in one smooth. I like to use a Pyrex pan so that I can get it all done in one shot. So again, I've got about 2 pounds of pre-chunked up pork, which I've got from my meat purveyor. And it looks like just about a cup of flour. This is a great recipe because if you don't like pork, you can absolutely use stew beef. It doesn't work as well with chicken, so I suggest you stay with the master recipe, which of course you can find online. You'll see me today working with my tablet, referring back to things, and all that information, including the recipes and the tricks and the techniques and all those things, are all going to be online. All right, now when I say fully coated, this is exactly what I mean. You always want to remember that when you're dredging or working with a wet hand in a product, you want to keep one hand clean and dry. I'm going to go right into my warm oil with each of these. Now the secret is that you don't overcrowd these, because the minute that you overcrowd these beautiful bites of pork, the temperature is going to go way down, and you can hear that sizzling exactly as you want to. Feel free to use tongs if you'd like. I'm just going right around the outside of the pan, starting with the outside rim until we have a full circle, and then work your way to the inside, kind of like building a tart. Often I'll do this in an old Dutch oven with a casserole. I'll begin cooking the entire stew on the stove top, and then I'll pop it into an oven at like 200 and let it go for anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. It really is one of those recipes that you can prepare ahead of time and leave cooking all day long. All right, always wash your hands after you've been working with pork. Now, what could go better with pork than a nice scented rice? I'm going to be using a saffron scented rice. But most importantly, I'm going to introduce a very, very exotic orange and citrus flavor to it. As the meat goes in, you want to use your tongs. Let those big, beautiful chunks braise. This is going to take about 2 minutes on each side. And I'll show you what it's going to look like when we turn it over. All right, well, my rice is going to go into first about a cup of boiling water, which I see I have already set. When we come back, we'll be adding a few other flavors. As soon as we get this first braise on, I'm going to add some diced onion. That's what we're looking for, a nice golden brown on the back of each piece of pork. So one by one, we'll turn these guys over. This part of the recipe is a little bit labor intensive, but it really is worth it, because those dark colors is where we're going to get all the flavor. When we add the wine and the tomatoes and a few of the other elements, it's going to all come up from the bottom. A good trick to know when it's time to turn them is when you see any of the juices rising to the top of the piece of meat. And they're already shrinking down. I have about half the size as I did when I began in the pan. Just about 3 more to go. Okay, the next step is a simple layer, which you should be familiar with, and it's going to be just adding some diced onions. Again, because it's a Friday night, I've gotten some help from my store with a cup of pre-diced. And what I love to do is whole cloves of garlic in this recipe. You can take them out or warn your guests. Sometimes when the stew is all the way cooked down, I like to pick out the whole cloves. I'm going to use 5 here and put them in a separate little dish, just like this little miniature pinch bowl, and set it on the side of the table. For the people who want that roasted garlic in addition, they can mash it with their fork and eat it up all in the same bite. All right, where did the flavors come from? Several different items, but we get the red in this from our wonderful stewed tomatoes, and since it's not the dead of summer, you always want to use a very high quality stewed tomato right out of the can. Now you see the colors coming through. All right, and back to the tablet. We have the oil in, we have our salt and pepper. We can do that right now. 5 cracks of that pepper. And there's a lot of meat in here, so we're gonna salt this pretty heavily. I'd say just about a tablespoon of a high quality sea salt. Now here is a flavor profile that you would not be expecting, I assure you. I'm gonna use 1 small can of anchovies and their oil. Now this is gonna add salt, and we're gonna lay them right across the top. You won't even know they're in there, I promise, for everybody who doesn't like that. Okay, and the secret again, about a cup of nice Spanish Rioja wine is gonna bring that all together. All right, we talked a little bit earlier about perbaya. Let me show you these beautiful perbaya garnis. These are the spices in their whole form wrapped in some butcher string. I'm gonna drop that right into the top of the pot. Give it one nice mix. Oh, that is so beautiful. We'll leave that bouquet garni in place. And when we come back, I'll show you what the rice looks like when it comes together. And we even have a chocolate chip pound cake bread pudding. Well, if you're just joining us, I'm Porter Brooks, and today's episode is all about those Friday nights, those TGIFs with friends. I know if you're like me, the weeks are busy and the days are full, and it takes a lot to even consider entertaining on a Friday night. But if you plan ahead and do great one-pot wonders just like this perbaya Spanish pork stew, you'll be able to come home and have everything on the table in just a few minutes. Before we went to break, we were assembling our stew. We browned our pork. There's our beautiful bouquet, our garni of perbaya inside. And look how the onions and the tomatoes are all coming together. I could see those big chunks of garlic clove as well floating around. I'm gonna add another layer of a pepper profile, and that is several roasted red peppers. Those are available right in the condiment section of your grocery store by the pickles and the roasted cherries and all the other elements. Let's mix that in together. And just for some freshness and texture, I'm gonna take a fresh red pepper. I have some left over from the other night. I'm gonna discard that stem and then slice this into pretty good sized chunks. We're really just trying to make sure that the texture is included with the meat, because that meat is gonna cook way down until it's nice and tender. All right, fresh peppers in, and some classic flavorings. This is a picante pimento from Spain. Since we're working with the flavors of Spain, this is where the heat comes. I'm gonna go a little bit light to start and let my guests decide how they want to increase the heat temperature on their palate. Everybody has their own preference. All right, we'll give our perbaya stew one more stir, and this is where you go low and slow. You can finish it on the stovetop, or you can put it into an oven at about 225 for 4 to 6 hours, into a slow cooker. On its lowest setting, we'll have everything ready when you get home. What you will need to do at the last minute is your rice, and what I'm gonna show you is how I combined for a store-bought rice mix. I'm using half of the liquid ingredient in water, which I already have in the pan, and then the other half chicken stock. Now this is going to create an intense flavor without adding the butter fat. That in mind, I'm not going to use the butter that it calls for. I'm going to use the healthier fat, some good olive oil, just to help all those kernels come together. All right, so I have a lovely yellow rice, which I'm going to add to my cooking liquid. We'll mix that up. Oh, you should smell this. Really, really fantastic. You'll want to bring this up to a boil. And here comes all these special elements that will be entirely unexpected. The different essences of the region. In the Mediterranean, in the late 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries, citrus was extremely rare. In fact, it was traded as gold and sugar. They used to create these individual pots that were made just so they could grow miniature citrus along the Mediterranean basin so that they could bring them in the winter and they wouldn't die. So having a perfume of citrus is really a classic, classic flavor. I'm going to take some edges of my lemon peel and I'm going to drop those right into that rice mixture. Again, really looking for the peel, staying off the pith, which is the white part. Just about a half a lemon will be fine on this. Look at that beautiful, bright lemon flavor. We're going to scent the rice with that. And the two other elements, the other citrus as we call it. This is a beautiful orange infused olive oil. And I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of that into our rice. Mix all that together. Oh, you can see that. You know, getting help from the store is so important, especially on a Friday night. And if you understand the basic flavor profiles that you're working with and some of the roots of the flavors and the histories, you can bring elements that are available really probably already in your refrigerator like I've done here with the citrus. So bringing the scent that will be very perfumey on the nose of the lemon and also of the orange is going to create a completely expected flavor. I'm going to cover this so it boils. Let's go back here and check on our stew. Look at that. That is Perbea my way. Friday night, reducing the heat all the way down. I want to show you how right now these beautiful chunks of pork are holding up absolutely perfect. That's probably going to be about half the size when it makes it to the plate. And this is going to become deep and dark and red. Two types of peppers. We have our roasted red and our fresh. We have our tomato. We have our garlic, our bouquet of Perbea, the Spanish herbs and spices that are almost in every single home, as well as our fantastic pimiento picante, our hot, hot spice. Well, I think I've got Friday nights underway. I forgot the wine. We'll have to have a sip of that when we come back. I'm going to set up my bar just for a few friends. I know they're going to be tired, all coming from work, and I really hope you'll join us. This is a super menu. You can go online and find all the tricks, all the tips, and all the techniques, or you can tweet me right at @ThePorterBrooks, and we'll have everything that you need to make a great Friday night. So there you have it. Don't miss me. I'm Porter Brooks. This is Friday Nights. It's a one-pot wonder, pork Perbea. Join me. I'll see you right back here. Welcome back. This is our Friday Nights with Friends episode, and I'm getting on to the final finale of the night, which is going to be a chocolate chip bread pudding. And again, being that it's a Friday night, I'm going to get a lot of help from the store. And by that I mean they have this great new pre-made miniature pound cakes that you can buy at your store. And I've bought one of the quality ones, of which I'm going to break up and use as my bread pudding. So it's going to be a chocolate chip bread pudding. All right, we start with 4 eggs, and then I'm going to use half and half. And I like to put just about half of the half and half in to start. With a very large whisk, go ahead and just break down those egg yolks. Make sure that we've got that stuff incorporated. And then a couple tablespoons of sugar. It's a simple, basic bread pudding recipe. Eggs, cream, sugar. Okay. and then we'll add the rest of that half and half. Now, if I was making a bourbon or a southern type of bread pudding, I'd be adding cinnamon and a few other flavors, but the pound cake on its own is gonna take care of everything I need, except the wonderful man's invention of some cooking spray. All right, I'm gonna do 2 of these just to show you how we handle the ramekins with a quick hit of cooking spray. That's gonna make that bread pudding rise right to the top. And then let's take apart our little miniature. Wow, that is chocolatey, more chocolatey than I could ever get it in my own home. And the truth of it is I'm not a baker. I've never claimed to be a baker. Rustic tarts and assemblies I can do, a cookie every now and then, but baking with the weighing and measuring, I really yield to other people who do that so much better. Right in the bottom of a ramekin, we're gonna put a nice piece of that bread, and then grab yourself a ladle and take some of your beautiful egg mixture and go right over the top of that. All right, now that bread is gonna soak everything up. Wow, I can smell the Perbea. Perfect. So about halfway, and then I like it a little crunchy on the top, so I do just like a chunk right in the top. They can see what's to come. And whenever I cook on ramekins, I use a small pan just because they're easier to go in and out of the oven. 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. There they go. All right, let's check out what's going on. Stovetop, looking beautiful. Look at that stew, perfectly combined. And I promised you a deep, dark color, and that's what you have. All right, all the way down to the service. Wait till you see what I'm gonna serve this in. And then with our rice, we definitely wanna fluff that up. You can see how the liquids are all coming together in the beautiful yellow. Now for the real treat, the most expensive herb in the world, beautiful saffron threads. Just a pinch of saffron threads will bring an amazing flavor to this citrus scented rice. All right, we're gonna cover that up and let that sit for just a few more minutes while I set the table. All right, the bread pudding is out and I've got the last final touches on the table. All of this is ready for my Friday night fun. Let's take a look at our beautiful stew. That looks perfect, and be careful of the heat. Our rice. Now, when it comes to this type of yellow rice, we want it nice and fluffy, not stuck together like some of the sticky rices, which I enjoy. On this episode, beautiful individual kernels of rice. Wow, I can smell that citrus coming out. Now, wait till you see what I'm going to serve my guest in. A really cool and impressive antique mortar and pestle. I'm going to start with my super big chunks. Pull that a little bit closer. Beautiful. Now, I promised you that those chunks of pork, if we brown them the way that we did, getting them nice and tight and firm, not only does it seal in all the flavor, but they come out in these big, beautiful chunks of Perbea love. There are those garlics. I think I'm going to leave them in right on top. And you see why we wanted to use the whole fresh pepper. It gives some texture and some color. They know exactly what they're going to be biting into. Get that last guy out of there. Okay, got to make it pretty for your guest. And then lastly, the gravy is what it's all about. Beautiful flavors of Spain with my Perbea. All right, leave room for either your serving spoon or, in this case, the big mortar and pestle, and make sure it doesn't overflow like mine's gonna do right there. Okay, to the table we go. I thought we just set up at the kitchen island tonight, and I'm gonna serve this with some great olive wood. Look at those beautiful colors. I have my rice, and I'm simply going to put a nice big spoonful of rice right next to each plate. Don't let that guy get away. That is one for the chef. And a second one. Look at the beautiful yellow colors coming through on the pale cream plates. I have beautiful little Chianti glasses and some nice dish towels just to make it casual so people can munch and eat. Oh, that looks wonderful. Let's see if I can get a couple chunks of those out really quick. The beautiful peppers. I'm gonna put those right in the bowl. And the big Perbea porks, look at that. Okay, wonderful. Now, while I was away, the bread puddings came out. I've added a little chocolate sauce right to the top. And one last bit of the essence, I'm gonna use some fresh lemon with a wooden reamer right over that rice, just to give it that hint of citrus that we talked about. I'll take that. And tonight, some basic red wine. It's a Friday night. Ask your guests to bring any bottle of red that they like, and I'm sure the whole table will absolutely enjoy that. Looks good. Beautiful Perbea pork stew. I have to look at that from here. I'm Porter Brooks, and you can tweet me at @theporterbrooks or go online where you'll find all this fantastic information, great table stylings, flavors, and good ideas to entertain on any Friday night. I'll join you next time when I entertain the world one table at a time. Cheers.